All right, push one in the chat if you can hear me. All right, thank you for that confirmation. Welcome back to the Black Brain Trust. This is episode 585. Please hit the like button as you come in, share the video if possible, and hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust, including those posted on the community tab. The docket and description be the video for you to follow along with. If you if you would like to engage in this discussion, there'll be a link in the chat for you to click on. When you click on the link, make sure you raise your hand so that one of us can acknowledge you and advance you to the panel. All right, let me grab the link for you all. All right. All right, let me share my screen. Start with the first item on the docket. All right, first item on the docket is from abcnews.go. Squirrel test positive for the bubonic plague in Colorado. Public health officials have announced that a squirrel in Colorado has tested positive for the bubonic plague. The town of Morrison, Colorado, in Jefferson County, which is in west of Denver, made the announcement saying that the squirrel is the first case of the plague in the county this year. Plague is an infectious disease caused by bacteria, Yersinia pestis, and can be contracted by humans and household animals if proper precautions are not taken. Officials from Jefferson County Public Health said in a statement released to the public. It is possible for the humans to be infected with the bubonic plague, though bites from infected fleas and by direct contact with blood or tissues of infected animals, such as a cough or a bite. Jefferson County Public Health said that cats are highly susceptible to the plague from things like flea bites, a rodent scratch or bite. And ingesting an infected rodent. Cats can die if not treated quickly with antibiotics after contact with the plague. Officials also said that dogs are not susceptible to the plague as cats are, but still may pick up and carry plague infected rodent fleas. Any pet owner who suspects that their pet is ill should contact a veterinarian immediately. Symptoms of a plague may include sudden onset of high fever, chills, headache, nausea, and extreme pain and swelling of lymph nodes, occurring within 2 to 7 days after exposure. Plague can be effectively treated with antibiotics when diagnosed early. Anyone experiencing these symptoms should consult a physician. Risk for contracting the bubonic plague is extremely low as long as the proper precautions are taken, and JCPH published a list of them, including eliminating all sources of food, shelter, and access for wild animals around the home, not feeding wild animals, maintaining a litter and trash-free yard to reduce the wild animal habitats. Having people and pets should avoid all contact with sick or dead wild animals and rodents. Use of precaution when handling sick pets and having them examined by a veterinarian, consulting with a veterinarian about flea and tick control for pets and keeping pets from roaming freely outside the home where they may prey on wild animals and bring the disease home with them. This is something, man. The plague is no joke. You're finding squirrels with the plague. Okay. I remember in the manosphere, some months ago, just before the lockdown, people were going back and forth saying, man, if there's a lockdown, man, I can hunt squirrels. You go ahead and hunt one of them squirrels. You're finished. You're highly finished, man. You eat one of them squirrels.
I don't want to laugh, but that was kind of comical. But you are looking at Y pestis, which is the bug that is in the flea's actual mouth, or when we call it the bug, it's actually a bacterium that is that's there that will cause the plague that you'll get. And it took out 2/3 of Europe, and it actually stayed around active for about 300 years, 400 years almost.
Yeah.
It never fully died out, and is still around today. We know how to treat it, though back then that we didn't know. We didn't even understand that, or the Europeans didn't know that it was caused by a flea. So they thought it was bad air, and they actually killed they thought it was the cats and dogs, so they killed all the cats and stuff like that, and they're thinking that it was coming from them, which, quite frankly, was the wrong thing to do, because they would have killed the rats and so forth. So they would have actually cut it down that way, but they came about all crazy ways of having to treat it, and they came up with religious types of potions and so forth that were absolutely useless. But people, didn't really understand the infectious nature of disease, and that this was even caused by a flea bite from a dead rodent, or from dead animals. So they didn't know. Pure ignorance went about. And this is still around today. It still exists today, and it can be masked under some different things if you don't catch it. But yeah, it's a dangerous disease. You're funny when you talk about that. People shooting squirrels and stuff like that, because they tell you they don't even want your pets eating or killing or eating any of the wildlife like squirrels and stuff in the area, because they know that many of these squirrels have even eaten certain kinds of poisons that some have become somewhat resistant to, and these other things. So you could potentially eat one of these things and die. So people don't even understand it. We had a kid, not a guy, but a guy who was here in the area. He was actually eating fish and some catfish and carp and stuff out of the Bronx River that's near my house. And there's a lot of runoff that comes off into that area, but he's eating out of the Bronx River. And, I cook great fish, and these carp and stuff, this is great, man. This is great stuff to eat, blah, blah, blah. And you somehow was great to eat. We look at him like, man, you highly finished. Oh, and he almost was highly finished, because then they found a malignant growth in his throat.
Wow.
And luckily they were able to catch it early enough before it killed him. And, and he's one of these white dudes, rugged individualist type of cats. And, he can hunt out in the open and fish around the Bronx River, when everybody knows that with all these pesticides and stuff that you have out here. And when rain comes down, since this is at one of the lower areas in the area, of course, the water runs down. Water doesn't run upstream, water runs down. So, so if you have any runoff coming either from the lawns or anything else like that, that maybe that's going to ultimately run off into the Bronx River, where the Bronx River Parkway runs. But so you have cars that run off near there as well. So, any other kind of exhaust pollutants or anything else like that could potentially, get into the water as well. But anyhow, he was eating out of there thinking he was good, until he found out he wasn't too good, and it almost killed him. So anybody out here thinking they can do that, you better seriously think twice, unless you're in the mountains of Montana somewhere, or, in some place where there's no industry or anything at all, where you might be safe. Still, you might not, but that's your best bet. Any cities, lying areas, or any place like that you think you're going to get live, you probably you're going to do yourself harm. They don't even want your pets eating this stuff. So
Yeah, you don't even want your pets roaming the streets, man.
You know, because, yeah.
Some of these marsupians rats in New York. I mean, these things are massive, man.
They had the nutria. The
Yeah.
nutria was up here in New York running around. This thing was almost the size of a dog.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of a small dog, like one of these little chihuahuas. You see one of these nutrias running around, looking crazy,
Mm-hmm.
looking like something out of Food of the Gods. I don't know if anybody ever saw that movie years ago, 70s movie where these animals turned, they got a hold of some radioactive stuff, and you saw giant rats running around, tearing shit out the frame. That's what you saw. It looked like that. It was pretty terrifying. But anyway,
Yeah, we joke, but this was said months ago. Before March, just before March. If there's a lockdown, man, I'll alpha my way through it. I'll eat the squirrels in the neighborhood. You go ahead and eat one of them squirrels, bro.
your chances are great you will be sick, or you may even die, because you don't know what he has inside of him, and God forbid what kind of bugs he may have inside of him. I mean by bugs or various bacteriums that they may have some resistance to that you have none, and it'll run your ass like Grant ran through Richmond, and you will be finished. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, a lot of these guys are talking a lot of shit because they don't know.
Yeah, well, there's been like a lot of dead squirrel carcasses on the side of the highways and stuff, man. Just randomly, man. Just you can see like maybe 24 per mile, and they're not being hit by cars. They're just dead. No one really knew what they were, what was going on. This is recently, okay? Bunch of dead squirrels, bunch of dead geese out there. No one really knows what's going on. Could it be COVID? Nobody knows. And so these things, this pandemic, you have to be very mindful of a lot of things, man. I don't know, man. I just, like I said, I saw a guy walking down the street with a mask on with a hole in it so he could smoke a cigarette, man. Just highly finished people out here. I'm not sure what's going on with this society. Society is finished.
Well, you have a lot of people also thinking this is a hoax. I hear some people. I was talking to one of my friends off the ledge the other day. He was like, "I don't know, man. I don't know, man. This could be a hoax, and I'm thinking they're hoaxing out here. They're talking all these bodies. Where are all these bodies? Where are all these bodies? Would you like to go to your city morgue, friend? And might want to check that out. I mean, would you want to go there and take a look at that? They're big doggy, and tell me what you might see there. Is that what you need to see? I mean, it's pretty scary, the mindset of some of these people out here. And some of these people are supposedly intelligent. I don't know what to say.
We got Black Torch on the panel.
Hey, how y'all doing?
DT, what's up, baby?
What's up? Hold on, let me turn down my fan. I just when I saw the title, I said this is so apropos because of what's going on in Florida and the rest of these places, and there's still panels where guys talking about this is a pandemic. I wanted to scream, but I can't. And they call themselves educated. That's the problem.
That's scary. That's the terrifying thing about it. These guys are saying they're educated, they know what's going on, and they're talking voodoo. It's unbelievable. Unbelievable.
I mean, you got to look at it. Yesterday, because I'm, my field, because I'm just looking at the body count, and it's crazy. It was 135 yesterday in Florida. Just Florida alone. It's going to be bad, man. They don't have enough body bags. I'm telling you.
Well, I mean, Hefty makes some Ziplocs.
No, I mean, we make jokes, but these are real people, man. It's really fucked up. I mean, I don't know what to tell you.
It is, but the thing is, we're not the ones making fun of this. It's these other people, all right? I work in Big Pharma, so I see all the emails and stuff that come out every day, and I see, what's being worked on. That's how I know which phase, things are being, which phase things are in. And so when I hear people say, man, this, that, and the third, and it's like, But all you do is load groceries at, for Instacart, man. Like, how do you know?
Well, 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 that was the thing the latest joke
uh,
was Chuck Woolery. I don't know if you guys remember
oh, I
him.
remember him from
Yeah, yeah. He's over
yeah,
there telling,
Mercedes.
oh, he doesn't believe that this thing is real. I'm saying, hold on, hold on. You were a game show host. Who the fuck, what medical school you went to? What virology? I mean, it's like me saying, we got a warp drive. They look at me like I'm crazy.
And
Yeah.
another thing too, he's an ultra right wing conservative.
Yeah.
This, all right, I just want to say that about Chuck Woolery.
No, but it's like all the
Well,
rest of
there's
them.
a connection. There's a connect. I'm sorry to say there's a connection.
Yeah.
There's a connection between extraordinary ignorance and extraordinary conservatism. I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
Mhm.
That they go hand in hand. Sorry. Oh, for those who may not like it, so what?
Mhm.
But anyway.
Yeah. Well, like I said, they know me at work, so they just don't say nothing like crazy around me because I would just go crazy on them.
Mhm. Mhm. We got DE Raptor on the panel. Shalom.
The numbers are
Hey,
out there.
what's up?
DE.
Hello, everybody. You guys, are we still going to be eating all kind of animals when this thing comes down?
Oh, these guys are so highly finished, man.
These
They're
dudes
We
so-
going to
are
be shooting
done.
squirrels and wolves and all that kind of stuff.
Oh yeah. Did you see about the zombie deers they're rolling around and they don't know what is going on. They really don't.
And if the
I,
deals
I,
come,
I,
that
I
means
saw some tests, bro. I saw some tests. First, I heard it was rumored. Then I saw some tests, and then I saw it in the news that even the food that we're eating is testing positive for this stuff.
Yeah,
yeah, it is.
yeah.
Yeah, it is. Yes, it is. Chicken.
Mhm.
Even some of your burgers. Now, I like turkey burgers. I don't mind eating a lot of beef. I like turkey burgers. I'm working out and stuff, but I
Nice
like,
lean.
of course. And the turkey burgers, I'm starting to question it because I'm like, shit, I know I see these turkeys clucking all around the joint. They could easily be coming down with this as well. So I'm been thinking about it. Yeah. Yes,
Wait,
indeed.
So
And it's a bird.
you gonna go vegetarian on us?
Nah, man, I'm not a vegan. I'm not a vegan dude. I do believe in eating very lean meat. I like protein, because I love that heavy ass weight. I like to hit them weights. That's my steez. But so I'm not saying that you can't do that as being a vegan. You actually can. Kai Green, who's a top bodybuilder, some people may know who he is. He's gone vegan, so it can be done. But I choose not to do that. So I like protein, and you get protein from lentils and everything else like that as well, from beans and all that. So so vegetables definitely have it, but I do like a certain degree of meat. I don't like to eat a lot of red meat, but I like to eat lean meat, and because it gives me faster recovery time. I
Mhm.
definitely see that when I'm eating meat and I lift heavy. So I do recover faster, being that I don't take steroids or any of that dog shit. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. DE, did you have something you want to add?
Oh, I'm good. I'm just jumping in. So I don't know where you guys at right now. I'm just jumping in.
No, we were just talking about squirrels in the bubonic plague being
Oh,
found.
that article.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Quite a few
Yeah.
of you guys sent it to me, so I was like, I gotta put this on the docket.
Well,
But,
it looks like, well, I sent it out because to me it looks like all of these things are coming back. And when I say coming back, it's like we have always been experimenting with these plagues and everything that we can find in nature. They have been experimenting on
Mhm.
for, I don't know, 100 years now, maybe more than that. And a lot of these things are being re-released, either deliberately or accidentally.
Well, that was the whole thing with the Lyme disease with ticks with Plum Island. But they won't confirm or deny that anything's going on there. But you try to get over there, you see what happened to you.
Yeah, the thing is, I'm curious as to why Colorado it would turn up in Colorado and then like maybe an edge based state like California or something like that. It could be a variety of issues, but in the chat, Jr. And Andre says, "Did you guys peep the article of a guy from Florida thought COVID-19 was fake, went to a beach party and caught it, then died from it days later." Hey, there's a lot of guys in the manosphere turning up at these block parties out there twerking.
Oh,
I don't know. You know, you guys doing the boogaloo out there, so I don't know.
no, they're gonna chop up some hoes.
Man, they probably chop them up at a morgue. But the thing is, a lot of black people are not taking this stuff seriously, man. I was just out there earlier before I came in, and the guy, man, you know, he wanted to go into the store, and he kind of put his shirt up above his nose as a way to make up for the lack of a mask. And it's like, no, get the hell out of my store. So,
finish.
yeah, $150 pair of sneakers on his feet, but no mask though.
Well,
Hi-
the World
hi-
Health Organization is now looking at this thing as being airborne. So
Oh, it's airborne. Meaning it can hang in an area for
Yep.
a little while. You can
Well, yeah,
just
12
hang in
to
the air.
15 minutes.
Hang in the air.
well, when they come out and admit that, when they come out and say, you know, it may be happening,
Mhm,
because they know,
mhm.
they knew.
Yeah, they knew, man. They knew it. They knew it for a while. But the information breakdown on this has been so pitiful. And like I said, you know, we had this president in here who got rid of the office of the pandemics. He didn't have anybody to really front run the key information we really need to know. Then you had a bunch of jackanapes out there saying all kind of craziness, and the real info just really hasn't really gotten out there. And there's more developments that are coming out that we need to know about, that the experts do know, but there's so much other fodder out there being passed around. It's all good. People just don't know, you know, and the ignorance game is out here. Now you have these people out here who naturally yield more towards ignorance than towards knowledge, because that's kind of how people are. You know, they're not going to find stuff out, and they're going to be quick to listen to dumb stuff. And then they're going to quick to listen to conspiracy theories and all this idiocy. And that's what we have going on. And I just want to say, one of my friends had a party out in Ohio. And he's like, there are about 40 people in this house party that they just had last week, and nobody's in there with masks on, and they're in Ohio. And I'm like, oh man, I was like, you guys gonna have a problem. One person is in there sick, and everybody in that hospital and everybody in that house is probably gonna end up having to go to the hospital, or maybe some are gonna have to go. So I'm like,
There's one question I have to ask all the conservatives to go. Do they know that we're buying the medication that they're treating people with from Russia? Do they know?
No.
Hello?
Do they know? Do they know that the vaccine that is far ahead of everybody else, as far as what I'm reading from Russia, that this thing is that the Russians have it. They're far ahead of everybody else. They tell you about Cambridge, but the Russians are actually far ahead. The Russians and the Japanese. The Russians and Japanese are working.
Yeah, I just wanted to fact check that one, because there's been counter people been fact checking what the Russians actually said. So I will report later on, but I don't know. I really don't know about the Russians being that far ahead.
Well, we are buying it.
No,
we are buying it. We are buying it. So I don't know how the facts might come out different, but from what I'm seeing, we are buying it.
Yeah, half of our, when I worked at a different farmer, half of our staff was in Moscow and St. Petersburg, and they were pretty far advanced for what they were doing.
Okay.
They may have it
from Russia too. They actually, two of them.
But we also know that the Chinese have a vaccine, but they don't believe it can cover all of the.
Well, they got the vaccine from
all of the virus.
Yeah, they got the vaccine from Cuba.
Yeah. Well,
Well,
it's been around, but I know the Chinese, you know, they do have one that they're dispensing now. But they don't know if it can cover all the different, because there are a lot of strains out here right now. So, and that's another thing that people are not talking about, are the different strains of COVID that are out there. And it seems like this newer strain that seems bad, it seems to be affecting younger people. Seems to be getting to them a bit more.
It's called natural selection. If you're dumb and you're stupid and you do dumb things.
Oh, select versus non-select.
Yeah, but that's what I was telling people. I said, this is a virus. You can't negotiate with it. You can't talk to it. You can't do anything. It is BT 100. You can't do anything to it.
It is, man. It's gonna do what it's got to do, and it's not. Yeah, like I said, you can't reason with it. The only way to reason with it is be able to shut it down, and we haven't really had a way of doing that. But you know, the problem, it's the supremely ignorant have taken control, and that's why you have an extraordinarily, profoundly incompetent leadership that came out of the White House, and then from that profoundly incompetent response, we haven't had a proper response really almost anywhere, from the CDC on down. So we seem to have fumbled the ball in a lot of different areas.
One thing that most people don't even realize is that
this is beginning to affect our
virus
readiness.
Can you guys hear me?
We can hear you now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Yeah, there's one thing that most people don't realize is that this virus was engineered in the Wuhan Virology Institute. The lab head, her name was Shizhong Li. She has been conducting coronavirus experiments in that lab ever since 2007. In 2013, they received a grant from the NIH specifically to research the effects of coronaviruses on the human genome.
Well,
so this virus, yes, I'm 100% sure.
Okay,
1,000% sure. There's already been research. There's already been research on the origin of the coronavirus.
Well, the common cold is the coronavirus itself.
Well, no, this particular coronavirus is different in that this particular coronavirus is different in that it has been engineered to infect human cells. And the reason why.
They've been conducting this since probably about over 50 years ago.
Yeah.
This thing is not new. This coronavirus.
This one is
not a new virus.
This one is new actually, because
no, it is not, bro.
Hold on.
Let me. The 1918 virus was a coronavirus as well.
Let me explain myself.
So
the SARS-CoV-2 coronavirus is a novel virus because the virus was actually engineered in the grant, under the grant that we actually gave them for $3.7 million back in 2013. The actual grant title was Understanding the Risk of Bat Coronavirus Emergence. And the whole entire purpose of this grant was to basically figure out what the effects would be if a bat coronavirus infected human cells, got out into the population. And in order to do that, what they did was they spliced the horseshoe bat coronavirus, that's a bat located way like 3,000 miles away from the Virology Institute. They actually went to caves, got these bats and spliced their coronavirus with it's an aardvark type animal called a pangolin. And by doing so, they also use coronaviruses from mice, because the binding motifs on the mice coronavirus actually can interface with the H2 protein receptors in humans. So,
okay, where'd you get this? Where'd you get this from?
Oh, so there's research all over the web.
No.
What I'm quoting this from is specifically from a Medium article by a virologist named Yuri Dingin, I believe his name is.
Yeah,
but there's also a Russian virologist. that actually came out with information that corroborates it. And actually 2 weeks ago, I haven't even gotten to the bombshell yet. The bombshell is the fact that
Dola, we need you to provide the citation.
Yeah, sure thing. No problem. No problem at all. I can
If you don't have a wrench, if you don't have a wrench,
I can paste that. I'll paste that on a link right now. I'll paste that in the chat.
Because we need to get to the article.
No problem.
Yeah, we need to get to the articles, right?
Sure thing. Let me see.
Let me move on to the next article. This is from Wired.com. COVID kills more men than women. Experts still can't explain why.
I have something on that right quick. So the reason why it kills men,
I need to get to the articles. We have articles on the docket. That's kind of how
no problem.
Things over here.
No problem. Go ahead, man. Sorry.
Yeah. Harvard's Gendercide Lab is, unlike most university laboratories, the group's mandate is to interrogate the scientific study of sex and gender. It brings together historians, anthropologists, social scientists, and philosophers. So when the coronavirus crisis reached the U.S. in March, they didn't have to halt half-completed experiments or scramble to make arrangements for lab animals. Nevertheless, the change wasn't easy. We were all struggling with the circumstances of living under COVID and wondering how we would continue to work together, says Sarah Richardson, a professor of the history of science at Harvard University and the lab's director. We wondered, is all the work that we generally do even important in this moment? But sex and gender soon became major issues in the fight against COVID-19. In mid-February, the Chinese Center for Disease Control and Prevention analyzed data from 72,314 COVID-19 patients and reported that men in their sample were almost twice as likely to die as women. The initial result pointed researchers and commentators toward smoking as a reason for men's relatively poor prognosis, since over half of Chinese men smoke while very few Chinese women do. But as the virus spread across the world and continued to kill men in greater numbers, alternative explanations proliferated, and references to intrinsic female biology, estrogen, the X chromosome, became more common. There's a lot of that in the manosphere. As of today, among the 53 countries that report their case and death data separated by sex, men account for approximately 51% of COVID-19 cases, but 58% of the deaths. In these frequent appeals to biology, Richardson and her team saw a familiar pattern. They contend that physicians, researchers, and the media have a tendency to focus on biology while underemphasizing the social determinants of men's and women's health, while factors like chromosomes and hormones, often captured under the label sex, do indeed play a role in health. Women and men also experience radically different social environments. Gender, a more amorphous concept that captures a person's social roles and experiences, has profound implications for health. It helps determine how we are treated by our surroundings and how we treat them in return. So Richardson and her team decided to investigate what was going on for themselves. We were like, okay, let's start looking with a totally open mind, she says. But before they could begin, they had to get a better picture of who was contracting and dying from the disease. Yet data sets that track COVID-19 cases and deaths by sex, age, and other demographic factors are hard to come by. We began by just simply trying to look for the data, and we couldn't find it, Richardson says. So we realized that we would have to assemble it on our own. On the website of each U.S. state's public health department, the Gendercide Lab team created the largest centralized repository of sex-separated U.S. COVID-19 data. Last month, they publicly released a data tracker that assimilates that information in the hope that other scholars can unlock the mystery of why COVID-19 seems to kill more men. Richardson believes that a nuanced approach to this question could not only solve an academic problem, but also assist in the fight against the disease. If we really want tailored interventions that identify vulnerabilities and save lives, we have to be thinking about how these contextual factors are driving these patterns, not necessarily whether one is a man or a woman, she says. But while researchers across the disciplines broadly agree that both social and biological factors are likely to play a role in the disparity, they struggle to identify the most important causes of one critical reason. For one critical reason, state data is often inadequate, incomplete, and unreliable. It's very hard to make accurate claims when you have terrible data, says Emily Wenzel, an associate professor of anthropology at the University of Iowa, who studies the relationship between gender and medicine. And the data in the US on who actually has COVID is abysmal. What does it mean to say that SARS-CoV-2 virus attacks men with more ferocity than it does women? As a first step, you might check which group tests positive for COVID-19 more often. As of July 6th, the Genocide Labs data tracker told a mixed story. In 33 states, women were more likely to test positive than men, whereas in 16 states plus DC, Puerto Rico, and the US Virgin Islands, men were more likely to test positive. Hawaii does not report cases by sex. Although the margin was generally narrow, some differences were more extreme. In New York, men were about 10% more likely to test positive than women. And women in Louisiana were almost 30% more likely to test more likely than men to test positive. So this is very interesting. I don't have a whole lot of time to go through this whole entire thing because we have other articles, but we should probably just open up a live stream just on this alone. Where's Dr. Phoenix when you need him? This is interesting because most of the cases I have found for Black men is that, or in the Black community, is that Black men are more likely to be dying from it than anything. But that's usually due to the fact that they have pre-existing conditions.
And also the environments of their jobs. They're usually outside on doing dirty jobs or confined spaces. And, you know, like the guys who died in the subway, they basically were in the subway cars and they died in New York City. It was, they have a large number of MTA people dying. But they remember men have harder jobs. They're the ones who are out there in the field and all around. And there is no social distancing in those jobs.
No social distancing in New York. You know, what, 10 million people up there?
No.
No, I'm saying in those jobs, there's no social distancing.
Black Torch is right. A lot of Black men on the front lines. There's a lot of front line stuff. They're on front line jobs more so than anything else. So a lot of Black men are working, you know, or were working. They're working very much in the front lines, either in the supermarkets. Definitely, you're going to talk about on the, you know, the MTA and some of these public service jobs that are out there that are out front, even in the police departments and so forth. Security, so forth, because you know I have an interest in a security firm, and we had a lot of guys out last year. I mean, I had 75 guards on over at Club Slate last year, so that was all frontline stuff. So we have guys all over the place right now, Black men all over the place, you know, working very much front lines. They were that was one of the big issues with Amazon. With you know, some people have canceled their Amazon accounts just because of how terrible the workers were. And the leader of that whole movement was a Black man who got fired, and talked about, you know, the risk that a lot of these people were taking. A lot of Black guys were working those jobs, and they were on front lines, and people were not properly covered. So we have a lot of that. So I think that's why we're seeing a lot of deaths amongst Black men, plus some levels of hypertension and diabetes. You know, part of our health issue that definitely has played a big role. Though I've known some women who have died as well, but Black men have been hit because of their underlying health issues and being on the front lines. Yeah.
That's been the thing. Go ahead.
Now, there's also a technical reason behind it. I actually posted 3 articles in the chat if y'all want to check them out. So there's a protein receptor site called ACE2 protein receptor. This is what the virus binds to. And in men, this receptor site is more prevalent than women. So that's one key fact that plays into the infection rates of men.
Are you talking about the H2N receptor? Because I'm thinking it's the same in men as in women. Now, you know, it's been a while since I've studied this in biology, but I think it's the same. And if it is not the same, why would there be more receptors in men than there are in women? Why would that be? Now I'm just going on my memory. I could be wrong. Yeah, I'm pretty good at science, but I could be wrong about that. I wish Dr. Phoenix was here. Where are you? Let's see if we can summon him up. But
I think tonight he has a class.
Yeah. I wish we could summon him up. But if that's the case, why would there be more H2 receptors in men than women? Why would that be?
It's pretty much the way the biology works, really, I guess. I mean, and
Okay.
there's actually more
You don't really know.
H2. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
There's actually more H2 receptor cells in Asian males, and it comes from their genetic line.
I don't know. I mean,
I can't nail down 100% reason.
I'm not doubting you and saying that you're totally wrong. So I'm not going to say that, but I would definitely like to research this myself and just take a look.
Yeah. Take a look at the third article I posted in the chat.
I would like to check it out.
Yeah. The third article I posted in the chat actually goes into it in depth if you want to, get a bit more information on it. But in regards to the way the virus infects the human cell, it's actually a two-stage infection process. There's a docking stage and then the infection stage. In order for that infection stage to take place, there has to be a way for the virus to inject its RNA into the cell. And the only way that SARS-CoV-2 can inject its virus RNA into the cell is by the use of something called a furin cleavage site. Furin cleavage site.
Yeah. It cuts. It almost like cuts a hole, but that's part of like the macrophages that attaches on. We kind of understand. I think the biggest issue that we see really with COVID is it's from the fact that it is an RNA-based virus. It can mutate quickly. That's its mutagenic quality seem to be a real problem. That's a real
crazy
virus.
What's crazy though?
It can mutate.
What's crazy though is that the presence of this furin cleavage site is anomalous in its family tree. It should not be there. It would be as if you had a black mother, black as night, and they had a blonde-haired, blue-eyed baby with a tail. The actual insert, of this furin cleavage site is actually, I think it's like a four chromosomes. It's not like a mutation. So you have scientists that actually tried to write this off, the insert of this furin cleavage site, as a mutation. A mutation is only one genome. This is like 12 base pairs in a row in this particular virus. Now, if this furin cleavage site was not there,
it could be one nucleotide. It just could be one nucleotide, like an isoleucine.
Exactly, it will be one nucleotide. This is a straight. Exactly. And you're right, nail on the head. Absolutely, it will only be one nucleotide if it was a mutation. And most mutations that happen with viruses are inert. They don't have any gain of function. This particular chain of nucleotides was inserted into the virus in order to infect human H2 receptor cells. The smoking gun in this, right, is that
are you saying that these are genes that they in place? Because now we're talking about
yes,
gene therapy type of situation. So this is what you're trying to say as far as it being engineered? Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, it was engineered under the auspice of trying to figure out a way to mitigate any type of outbreak that would occur naturally coming out of nature. It would be as if you set your bathroom on fire just to see if you can put your house out. You wanted to make sure that your fire safety standards in your house was up to code. So you decided to go ahead and set up a room and burn it and see if you can put it out. That's
but exactly you wouldn't do it in your home. Wait, I have to stop. Okay.
The analogy.
Wait. I want to say something. I don't see any of the articles that you put in the chat. I'm looking. I don't see any of them. The second thing is there's been cases, because you said it and it was funny because I saw it about 3 months ago. Black couples who did have blonde hair, blonde-eyed kids, and so that happens. Not in the nature is just how you think white people got here.
It can happen because these are very recessive genes, and that
Yeah.
can happen.
Yeah, so that's
Yeah.
another thing.
Go
Wait. I just
ahead. Go ahead.
if you put the articles in, we will look at them. But I'm looking for you're in the chat, and I don't see anything.
On the Zoom chat.
Oh, you put them in the Zoom chat. Oh, I thought you put it on for everybody. Okay. Oh,
Yeah, I
okay.
put it in the Zoom chat.
Okay, because I think people in the chat on the regular chat is looking to see these things also. So
Now this stuff came out of Google. You Google this stuff up, and it's a Google. This is Google information from where? From some magazine or?
you got one from Medium, one from Science
Medium is
Direct.
not a credible site. Medium is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All I can do
wait,
is
guys.
provide
I'm just
information.
repeating what he said.
No,
And the other one is from Google Science News doc cardiology. So I'll post it in the chat because it's only fair that the other people got a chance to see what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so
no problem. Well, the thing is, this is new information, right? Every time someone hears new information, until you actually research it and look into it yourself, I wouldn't advise anyone to believe anything I'm saying at all, not even a little bit. You know what I mean?
Well,
I'm just presenting information that most people have never heard. Once you hear it, you
we have heard
you run with it and do what you will.
No. We have heard some of this, but if you're going to come out and preach this up, well, this is what we hear, and it's once again, it's just more this propaganda, bullshit, and it could be, propagandized by any number of various, kind of dubious agencies. I tend to like to get my information from
Credible sources.
from extremely credible sources like the CDC or like the AMA. Okay, that's kind of who I'm kind of rolling with. I'm not just kind of rolling with any sideline joker talking out the sides of his ass, and then have other guys talking about it and really don't understand the full mechanisms of how things are working and so forth.
Yeah.
Not saying I'm supremely sophisticated in this. I'm more sophisticated than most because I've studied this, but yet I studied this kind of stuff in school before. But there's certainly people who are much more learned than I am in this. Who I think,
most definitely.
Who I would think would be rather dubious of a lot of this. So I haven't heard this before, and it sounds kind of hokey, and that's just how I'm taking that right now. In fact, I'm not buying it until I see very credible sources.
I implore you to do your research. When I tell you this is concrete facts, this is all like well founded.
Saying it's concrete facts.
You can actually look at the grant and what it was for. You can pull it up on the government website. You can actually see exactly who ran the Virology Institute and what experiments that were done there. Yeah, all this stuff is on record. This is not something I'm making up.
Yeah, but Dula, you have to understand, you're on our channel, right? So what happens here is people say, well, I heard this on the Black Brain Trust. It didn't come from, the panel members.
I totally understand. Absolutely.
You understand what I'm saying? And then they'll say, well, I heard it over there. And then it turns out to be something else. Our credibility is shot too. But
absolutely. I'm not here to, put any type of shadow or doubt on your channel and y'all at all. You know what I mean? Like I have a affinity for the truth and facts and evidence, much like y'all. You know what I mean? And I look at all sides of every story and make sure that whenever I'm forming an opinion on a subject, it's solid as hell. And everything I do is based off of scientific evidence. Everything I research is based off of scientific evidence. And again, I implore you guys to look at the research. I mean, it's pretty concrete.
All right. Let me jump to the next item on the docket from the BostonGlobe.com. Walsh says U.S. coronavirus situation is devastating. Warns of risk of moving backwards in Boston. Mayor Martin J. Walsh said, let me spin this out. Said Tuesday that the United States is in the worst place it's been in terms of the coronavirus pandemic, and it's imperative that Boston residents continue to take precautions to prevent the virus from flaring up again. He said the rise of the potentially deadly virus in states such as California, Florida, Texas, and Arizona is quite honestly devastating. Here in Boston and Massachusetts, we need to do everything we can to avoid going down that path, he said. The state reported Tuesday that a total of 8,125 people have died in the state from confirmed cases of COVID-19. The diseases caused by the coronavirus, another 215 probable case deaths have also been reported. The Massachusetts outbreak reached its peak in the spring and is subsiding, but other states, particularly in the South and West, are grappling with the surge of cases and death. Walsh said city officials are monitoring data such as the number of positive tests, percentages of tests that are positive, and hospital activity every single day as we get it. We are ready to make whatever adjustments that are needed, he said. We've worked our way into the strong position to control our own destiny here in Boston by taking precautions against the virus, he said, but warned that if people stop, we are at risk of moving backwards. Every day is certainly critical. He asked people to continue wearing masks, stay 6 feet away from others, avoid large crowds, wash hands frequently with soap and warm water and clean surfaces. He asked business owners to operate with absolute caution and care, following all of the requirements that have been laid out by the city and state. These are the things that every single person in our city should be doing in every single day, he said. Walsh also launched a broadside at the Trump administration's handling of the pandemic as he criticized the administration's plan, which was later rescinded, to prevent international students from coming to the United States if their classes are held totally online. This country has needed all along a White House and an administration that takes the mute a couple of you guys because of some feedback coming in. At the very least, we need leaders who don't put up barriers to states and cities that are trying to protect their residents and restore their economies. And we need to avoid at all costs politicizing a pandemic that divides people at a time when acting together is a matter of life and death, he said. Walsh noted that Boston and other cities had joined in amicus brief supporting a lawsuit brought by Harvard and MIT against the Trump administration's new policy. A settlement was reached in court Tuesday that rescinded the plan. Walsh said that the plan had no basis in public health or national interest. It's an attempt to put pressure on colleges and universities to open up. It puts politics in the place of the public health. He said it wasn't fair to students who look to Boston as a place of educational opportunity and would be a blow to our economy at a time when we can least afford it. Yeah, yeah, this is interesting because we just had phase 3 yesterday. So I don't know. Like he said, there's still people walking around with no mask. I just talked about that earlier, and when the live stream opened up, that black people just walking around with no fucking mask on, just don't give a fuck, man. At the very least, these guys are just walking around with before they were walking around with bandanas on their face like Yosemite Sam. So, but now we know that those masks, those attempt at utilizing a bandana as a mask is actually a poor way of doing it. You're probably better off with a napkin and a rubber band around your face or something. This is something, man.
This is a dual-edged sword, because if you look at it from, remember MIT and Harvard, they are two of the most expensive schools, and of course they're going to be upset at this because it stops them from getting access to that money. But this was a rule that existed long before Trump came to office. That rule was that if you that's to stop foreign students or foreign people from coming here and never really attending school.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what kind of the thing they did, but it also makes it also is attempts. It's a direct shot at these universities and these expensive tuitions that they're charging.
Hmm.
Yep. And you know, I hate to say it, but you know, this is one that may have benefited black people into getting into those schools that they couldn't get into before because of all those legacies and all these other things, you know.
Hmm.
But it's a tough call because I look at it, you know, no decision is perfect, but this one I gotta say, I gotta be honest with this one. The rules are there to prevent what's happening now, and I don't know. I just I don't know what to say. Somebody can come up with something else, but I don't know what to say. You know, I'm on the fence with this one.
You're hopping the fence or you're on the fence?
I'm on the fence with this one. I'm not hopping the fence. This is what do you think? I'm going over to the dark side. I'm going over to the truthers or what they call the
I thought
flat
you,
Earth people.
no, I thought you was looking for an IR.
No, 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 no. I'm like I said, I'm like going. I'm going to Afro Latinas, man.
Oh yeah,
That's
yeah, 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 yeah. I hear you. I hear you. Let me jump to this next one from Fierce Farmer. Merck CEO Frazier says COVID-19.
Black good. I'm sorry, Mike. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Merck CEO Frazier says COVID-19 vaccine hype a grave disservice to the public. Some brother saying this. Politicians, let me expand this out. Politicians, government officials, and pharma executives alike have been predicting a COVID-19 vaccine debut by year's end. But Merck CEO Kenneth Frazier doubts that's possible, and Merck has enough vaccine experience to know the obstacles ahead. Instead, those who are promising vaccines later this year could be hurting the overall fight against the pandemic, Frazier figures. In an interview with Tisdale Neely, the Naylor Fitzhugh, professor of business administration at Harvard Business School, Frazier said officials are doing a great disservice to the public by talking up the potential for vaccines later this year. There are massive scientific and logistical obstacles to achieving such a feat, he said. What worries me the most is that the public is so hungry, is so desperate to go back to normalcy, that they are pushing us to move things faster and faster, Frazier said. Ultimately, if you are going to use a vaccine in billions of people, you better know what the vaccine does. On the scientific front, Frazier brought up the fact that it typically takes several years or longer to develop vaccines. Merck won approval for its mumps vaccine after 4 years of research and development, a record, and it took 5.5 years to score an approval for Merck's Ebola vaccine. Okay. In the last 25 years, the pharma companies worldwide had developed 7 truly new vaccines, Frazier said, and Merck was responsible for 4 of them. Scientists have been working on an HIV vaccine for decades to no avail, he added. By talking up near-term vaccines, Frazier argues officials are enabling the public to ignore common sense measures to slow the spread of the COVID-19, such as wearing a mask. And aside from the scientific obstacles, manufacturing and distribution remain an even bigger challenge, Frazier said in an interview. Let me advance MOT. Whenever Merck is ready to launch its vaccine, the company has committed to broad, equitable, affordable access, Frazier said. That means that no matter where you are in the world, you should have access to this vaccine. He cited an era of ultra-nationalism as one obstacle to a launch, saying countries are more interested in securing supplies for their own populations than in prioritizing vaccines for people around the world who need them most. The New Jersey drug giant publicly entered COVID-19 vaccine and drug research back in May. Months after some of its pharma peers had started up their own programs or partnerships. In its quest for COVID-19 vaccine, Merck partnered with nonprofit research group IAVI on a preclinical vaccine candidate based on the same platform used by Merck's Ebola vaccine. The company also brought privately held biotech Themis for access to a potential COVID-19 vaccine developed by that biotech and its partner, Institute Pasteur. Both of these programs remain in preclinical stages, whereas some of Merck's biopharma peers are getting ready for or launching phase 3 trials. Moderna, Pfizer, AstraZeneca, and Johnson & Johnson are among the current COVID-19 vaccine frontrunners. So we've talked about this before. Dr. Phoenix has been instrumental in pushing this, that, it does take quite a while before you see any sort of vaccine for any sort of disease that's out there. I work in pharma myself, and I've seen all the emails that come through in that area, and we're nowhere near ready for that. You're talking phase 1 just now getting started. And so when we talk about this, there is no magic bullet. That's not going to happen this year. I've known that for months back in December. That was not going to happen. 2021, 2022, 2023 could potentially be those dates, but the ETA we're talking is 2021. And so, and if Merck is at that stage, they're accelerated. I know some other farmers that started, back in February, and they haven't even gotten that far yet. So I don't know. We got MOT on the panel. Let's hear what MOT has to say.
What's going on, man? There's political rhetoric and there's reality. Like with all these other outbreaks, it took like 4 or 5 years to get like a stable enough drug to be tested. I mean, removing all the safeguards from the drugs that are on the market, most of these companies are just going to be pulling cash runs on people who are looking for easy answers. I still think that these people need to go through the proper drug process like everything else. I don't think this stuff needs to be lessened like any other drug. I mean, that's what we set it up to do. I mean, since Big Pharma don't go to jail in any other case, a lot of people could potentially be taking something very early that could be very deadly to them.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Anybody else have anything you want to add to this? All right, we'll jump to the last item on the docket then. Actually, we got one more.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you.
Hey, MOT. What's crazy
Yes.
about that though is that there is no safety standards when it comes to vaccines. They don't have to prove safety. They only have to prove that it basically has a reaction. There is an immune response. There's no safety standard.
Wait, time out. No, that's not true. They have to have
That's
a
true.
thing called
That's
efficacy.
100% true.
No, they have a thing called efficacy.
There's
I
no
can send it to
safety
you.
standards when it comes to testing vaccines. I'm telling you right now, you cannot find one study where they actually have done safety testing on any vaccine that has been put out there. I put my life on that.
Yeah,
Straight
but
up. There's no, just like with when drugs, they have to go through that. Vaccines have an entirely different process of approval. They're not classified as drugs.
Like I said before, there is a thing called efficacy, and it has to at least be about 80. You gotta let
go
me
ahead,
speak.
go ahead.
Okay. There's gotta be at least efficacy means that it has to be effective. It has to be and non. It doesn't hurt the individual. I will send you. Look it up and send it to you. There are rules. They just don't do things in the wild. I'm sorry, they don't. I don't know where you got your information, but I'm not a doctor in this field. But I will ask him one tomorrow and generate that information, and send it to the Black Brain Trust, and we can have another discussion. But I'm just telling you that's something that I know for a fact that they have rules. You just can't do you just can't come up with things, because then anybody can say I have a drug, I have a vaccine, and I could just give it to anybody.
It has to go through the
So,
FDA.
so,
It have to go
so
through the
it's,
FDA.
but this is it's a different approval process. That's what I'm getting to between
Oh yeah,
from
but you said that there's
drugs and
no. See,
vaccine. They
wait. You
completely
can't.
separate approval
We're not gonna.
processes.
We're
You
not gonna.
only have to approve. You only have to prove that there is a immune response, an expected immune response when it comes to vaccines. There is zero safety standards when it comes to vaccines. The only thing you have to prove as a vaccine manufacturer is that there is a correct immune response. If you're looking for a particular immune response and you get that, you can get approved. There's no like drawn out phase 2, all that safety standard when it comes to vaccines. It's not.
I don't know where you get your information from. You know what I'm saying? I'm not a doctor. I'm not a researcher, all that. But Black Torch is right. You have to meet standards for efficacy, and those standards say that if you bring out a vaccine and it's killing 50% of the people or harming 50% of the people that you tested on, more than likely the FDA is not going to approve
The
it.
Gardasil shot is doing that. The Gardasil shot is still killing girls right now. Like they still selling these things out on in public. Like there's many vaccines out now that are causing all kind of autoimmune diseases and all type of autism.
That's a
reaction.
That's a reaction. You said killing.
Yeah. There are vaccines.
There was no.
Right,
You said there was no. You said there was no standard.
Wait. I think you see you're mixing things. That's okay. You're not a doctor, and we're not doctors.
I'm not a doctor.
Wait. I'm
I'm
just making a point.
Yeah,
I'm trying to help you out. I'm trying to tell you, you're not a doc. What we do is you bring you bring your facts. We'll look and we'll bring our facts and we'll look at it and explore them and we'll get experts. But I just posted something in the private chat and I'll post it. It's safety in vaccines, and this is by the vaccine.gov, and it's basic safety. So I don't know. I don't know. I don't know where you're getting this facts from, because it's or your interpretations of this, because there is safety. You can't just do what you want to do. I'm sorry that you can't.
If the government allow them to test something in the human population, they have to get a waiver. And more, and I don't know how difficult it is to get that waiver, but I know they have to get a waiver. You have to get a waiver to say the government say, well, no, we're going to protect you in case you get sued.
So there's something called a vaccine court. So if someone is harmed by a vaccine, they cannot be, the company that produces that vaccine cannot be sued. All suits have to go through the vaccine court. And it's that lawsuit is billed on the taxpayers. That's why vaccine manufacturers don't care about safety, because they're completely protected by the vaccine court. There's no emphasis on safety because they have absolutely no liability. They have no reason to focus on safety.
It might be drifting off course, man.
Yeah.
I don't want to take it off. I don't want to take it off court. My bad.
No.
Hey,
But I just gotta, because the saying things that's not true. I just posted a thing from vaccines.gov that explains what I said it did. There is see, this is the thing when you come here. You gotta come here with your facts, and the facts gotta be true, because we will look it up. And this is what I did. I posted in the private chat. I posted in the general chat. These are in the general chat. And these are not my words. These are the government's words. You can't just do what you think that you're doing. I don't know where you get this vaccine court. I've been looking that up. and I haven't been able to find credible sources that said that that even exists. But I will look it up and give you the benefit of the doubt. But what I just put in the chat just contradict what you just said. I'm sorry.
Yeah. It sounded like some bullshit. But anyway,
I mean, the thing is, hey, look it up, man.
Yeah,
Don't believe me. Look it up. I'm trying to tell you, bro. Like, this is nothing that I'm just pulling out my ass, man. They only have to see that there's an immune response that's provoked.
Yeah.
That's the phase 1 testing trials assessment, is whether or not there is an appropriate immune response provoked. There's no long-term safety studies done with vaccines. There never has been. Look it up.
I need to get to the next item on the docket because we're running out of time. Next item on the docket is from Wire.com. The CEO of Novartis on developing drugs during a pandemic. We gotta expand this out. As CEO of Novartis, the world's second largest drug company, Voss Simhan shows that big pharma is an object of love and hate. Pharmaceutical products save lives and help people manage difficult medical conditions, but the industry's drug prices are often indefensible. And companies' practices are sometimes questionable or worse. In the pandemic year of 2020, the stakes are even higher as people look to the Voss's industry to produce preventions or cures for the SARS-CoV-2 virus devastating the world's health and economy. The perils and promise of embodied in recent Novartis developments. As a manufacturer of hydroxychloroquine, the company was in the uncomfortable position of distributing a product that was overhyped for an unattended and, as the FDA concluded, not likely to be effective. Use as a COVID-19 treatment or preventative drug. And recently, Novartis, which exited the vaccine business in 2014, dipped a toe back in by agreeing to manufacture vaccines gratis for a clinical trial of a genetic-based approach. If the trial is successful, Novartis has the option of producing it commercially. Voss, 43, grew up in Pittsburgh, went to Harvard Medical School, and had stints at the World Health Organization and the consulting firm McKinsey & Company before joining Novartis in 2015. He spoke to Wired from his home in Basel, Switzerland, where the company is headquartered. The interview was edited for brevity and clarity. One year ago, you told New York Times, we are not at all prepared for a pandemic. Speaking generally, that sounds pretty present now. But was Novartis prepared for the pandemic? We were better prepared than I expected. If you had asked me in January, if we had taken 110,000 people and most of them turned virtual and our operations would still run, I wouldn't have believed it. More important, our clinical trials were able to run largely seamlessly. Because of our investments in data science and predictive machine learning, our manufacturing operations were aided significantly. Also, our relations with patients and physicians also were enabled by that transformation. All three of those digital investments areas previously seemed like nice to have experimental areas that may transform us in 5 years. Suddenly they became things that were fundamental. Novartis makes hydroxychloroquine, which became the center of a fiasco. Are you satisfied with the way your company responded? And as it supplied a medicine that was later shown unlikely to be effective for COVID-19, while reportedly the drug became scarce for patients who needed it for its intended use. I followed the data, so I was agnostic as to whether or not hydroxychloroquine would work or not until we had good clinical studies. In mid-March, though we were in a moment in time where a lot of governments were in a very desperate situation, you had some very early indications from non-appropriately designed but indicative clinical studies in China and France that this might help. We didn't believe we would be impacting patients with rheumatological illnesses that needed hydroxychloroquine anyways. And I don't think we did. So we said we'd be willing to donate to any government that wants to use the medicine under appropriate oversight. When the data came out that showed the drug may not be having the impact we had hoped, obviously we stopped our trials and now are winding back the program. I don't think you could reasonably have done anything differently in that moment when you asked a drug that might help and if used appropriately could be managed in terms of its risk. Unfortunately, it was used in many instances outside of the hospital, which was never the intention. I'm not going to go through all of this because I don't think that. Actually, let's go over this one right here. Let's talk about vaccines. You're in a partnership with Massachusetts Eye and Ear and the Massachusetts General Hospital for a gene-based vaccine. What distinguishes that from some of the other candidates? We're only supporting the clinical trials on this vaccine. We're not a major vaccine manufacturer. In general, there are a few different thrusts for the vaccines. The established technologies primarily take proteins of the virus and put them into people in other components of the virus, or work by inactivating the virus, then generating an immune response. Interestingly, those two technologies are a little further back. The ones that are further ahead are either putting the COVID genome into another virus, which is the Oxford approach with AstraZeneca, or injecting RNA or DNA into human cells. This is uncharted territory. We have never successfully had a licensed RNA or DNA vaccine generate a safe and effective immune response. How much data do you need to understand that it is safe and effective enough to give it to billions of people? Well, according to Dulles, you don't need standards like this. You just go out and just do whatever you want.
Well, see, the thing is, let's get this nailed down. Let's get this nailed down,
bro,
okay?
I'm kidding, bro. I'm pulling your leg.
Yeah, I know. I'm not peeved at anything, man. But the thing is, they have never done any placebo testing on any vaccine. That's how you establish safety and effectiveness.
No, it's not. You got to stop saying that,
bro.
You don't do that with a vaccine.
That has to be met. There's a standard that has to be met
when it chat. I just put it in the chat. See the problem.
Okay. The problem. Let me look at what you put in the chat.
Wait. Let me explain something.
If you look at what I put in the chat.
The problem that we're having is you want us to believe what you say, and then when we bring you countervailing evidence, I went to the government site that explains how it's tested. I put it in the chat. And then instead of you taking a step back and say, hold on, let me see what this guy has put in. No, you're going to double down. And then I went to see if there was a thing called a vaccine court. There is no such thing called a vaccine court. What it is, there are vaccine court cases, but there's no such thing as an established court that works on just vaccines. So I don't know where you're getting this information from, but I research everything. When you bring something here, and if it's not correct, we're going to challenge you on it, and that's all I'm saying.
Yeah, there's the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. That's
not a court.
Yes, it is, man. I've been looking at this for years and years, man. There's no way that if someone's harmed, if someone's child is harmed by MMR or harmed by the Gardasil vaccine, they have to seek justice through the vaccine court, through the National Vaccine Injury Compensation Program. That's the only way they can do it. They cannot.
Are you a nurse? Are you a nurse?
No, I studied to be one. Yes, I studied to be one, but I never did finish the program.
Okay.
Oh, you know.
I
know.
Yeah,
I didn't know.
I'm an engineer by trade, by the way.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead and finish the article. I don't want to take over the show at all. So go right ahead.
Yeah, let me finish this article. This last item on the docket from David Rubenstein. This is from Bloomberg, I believe, because they changed the link from the last time when I clicked on it. So yeah, this is from Bloomberg. So this is from the Merck CEO. Let's hear what he has to say.
companies have been given billions of dollars by the federal government. Is that an unfair advantage to somebody like you that's gotten, relatively speaking, a modest amount? Is that something you're worried about, or you don't care?
Well, you know, I won't say I don't care. I have to manage a P&L, David. But at the same time, as I said at the outset, we want to be able to pursue this in a scientifically rigorous, orderly way. And so for us, we think if we're able to come forward with a vaccine, and we're confident that we will, we think the funding will eventually be there. So I don't think it's a disadvantage.
Okay, when you say you're confident they will come through, when is, I guess, the question you get asked all the time. When will there be a vaccine? At the end of this year, early next year, middle of next year?
Well, I won't speak to other people's vaccine programs, but what I would say is that we expect to go into human testing with our vaccines, both of them by the end of the year. What I can tell you is that the fastest vaccine ever developed was our mumps vaccine, and that took 4 years. So now we know that the urgency of the situation is going to cause us to try to move quickly, but never, ever at the expense of safety.
So human trials, you mean phase 1, phase 2, phase 3? What phase are you in now?
Well, that's part of the way that I think people are thinking about speeding up the whole vaccine development. So for us, we're thinking about going into human trials. Often you can call those phase 1/phase 2 trials if they're designed in the right way. The FDA came out recently with some very thoughtful guidance. And what they've said, among other things, is that they wouldn't even approve a vaccine for emergency use unless there was 6 months of observation of data. So that gives you a sense that the fastest it could be is, let's say, a year from now.
Okay, some of the companies have.
Well, Merck CEO says quite a few things. Black Torch, you have anything you want to add to that?
No, because that's what I was saying. I'm telling you, I put it in for everybody to look at the government sites. Merck CEO is telling you that they do testing. And for the people who think that they're just going to give people these vaccines and think that they're not going to be tested, it's not true. He just said that the FDA is not going to let them do that. So I don't know. I think the guy with the PhD and the head of a pharmaceutical companies know quite more than I know.
Yeah.
And he's also talking about what he has to do to make this vaccine work. So I'm done. I put it in the chat. I'm not hiding anything. I put everything in the chat. You can go look at it.
Yeah, Ken Frazier, man, dope brother, man. He was on. He's been around a while, so.
Highly butter laid.
Yeah, Ken's a highly butter laid guy, man. Knows what he's talking about. So, but he said something I thought was pretty interesting. He said, phase 1 in human trials, you said you won't start seeing that until at least in the fourth quarter. You're talking December. And depending on how it's developed, it could be phase 1, phase 2 for human development. You probably testing on the animals first, right? If animals are coming up, with COVID cells.
That's at the earliest if everything goes right. I mean, we're assuming everything goes right without a hitch.
Yep.
So.
Yeah. I mean, go test those squirrels in Colorado. I don't know if MOT, you familiar with squirrels? Yeah. Squirrels showing up with bubonic in Colorado?
Yeah.
I
they was talking about it on the last two what do you call those things? Town halls, virtual town halls. They were starting to talk about it. So
yeah, I'm just worried that one of your trucks may run over one of them, and the gut splatter over your vehicle, then you come on.
No, but how they found out about it was, people going to go hunt, and they came back. That's how they got it.
What was it? Rudent? Was it Rudent lives in Colorado?
Like you a mess.
He was one of the main guys, man. I heard, man, talking about I'm gonna hunt squirrels when dirt. If the lockdown happens, man, they can't stop me. You go ahead, eat one of them squirrels, bro.
No, I mean, but people just came down with it, just feeding them. You know what I'm saying? Just being around them. I mean, because they didn't think that was going to be a place where that would quote unquote happen. And we're talking like in the woods all the way up into the mountains and stuff. So there ain't no way that these things had like actual contact with people. So there ain't no telling how or when or even where they got the stuff from. So
Well, we do know it's airborne, and that's the thing that the government won't tell you, because if it's, and these scientists are saying it's airborne, and if it's airborne, then you know, uh, I don't know about herd immunity. I don't think it's going to work this time.
no, it's not possible. It's
I don't
airborne.
think it's
You
going to
can't
work
have
this time.
nothing herd immunity against something that's airborne.
That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's going to work this time. You know.
I mean,
So
like, there's too much wishful thinking out there. You know, we got vaccines that could be showing up at the end of the year, and it's like every time you look at this information, it's sold one way, and then the facts come way later, and they're like, "Oh man, we were lied." Like, no, you was lied to by the marketing of something being done. Now that the science is telling you what it is, they don't believe the science, and it's like, yeah. So
Yeah, who's trying to go next? Go.
Now, I was just letting you guys know, I posted the actual project for the NIH grant that was given to the Wuhan Institute of Virology. It lays out the entire purpose of the grant and what they were specifically studying in regards to the SARS-CoV-2 and what they were attempting to do. So that's pretty much was the genesis of where COVID came from.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is the reason why we shouldn't be paying for vaccines, because we're giving out National Institute of Health grants and having people study it. There ain't no way in the hell that a company should come by later and just purchase that shit and just put it on the market and make a whole bunch of money off of it.
It's
Completely.
called capitalism, MOT.
And
That's called capitalism.
I remember down in Brazil during when they had the, it was supposed to be a big AIDS issue. And this the Brazilian government, I think they had Merck and a few other companies that had some of the AIDS drugs. They were like, well, we'll send them to you at XYZ. And they were like, bullshit. So they got the chemical compounds of what these drugs were, and government just made it themselves. And because they thought it was a humanitarian purpose for it. So yeah, I'm totally with MOT. These guys are rolling up, finding out what's going on, and then next thing you know, they're going to try to market it and sell it and make a lot of bread on it. There is a humanitarian aspect to what's going on here, and it shouldn't be just strictly for profit or for sale. That's ridiculous, because then you're not treating people, you're making money. That's a whole different game.
Well, no, going. It's even worse than that. You're going to have to get at least 7 billion doses. Then if the research is coming up that you only have immunity for like 6 months. So
Yeah,
it's
So-
crazy.
So-
It's just crazy.
yeah.
And that's just
Just
COVID-19.
one more
I mean,
thing.
it could be COVID-20 and COVID-21.
Yeah.
It could be way, So.
Could be. That's right, MOT. That's right. That's right. Go ahead, bro.
So
Go ahead,
what
man.
the article that you posted, right? So it says that, they have to provide, testing for potency, safety, and purity.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the FDA requires the manufacturers of those vaccines to provide that information. They have to provide the FDA is basically allowing the wolf to tell the chickens everything's okay.
Yeah, but
Oh,
that's
so you're
how it's
saying, like,
always been done here.
But-
You act like this is
But
okay.
on top of that, there's nothing in the article that mentions safety. There's nothing in the article that mentions
it said
that
safety.
mentions
It's the first.
a double blind. The only way that you can establish safety is actually doing a double blind placebo test. There's never been a
What
double
are you
blind.
talking about? A double
I'm talking
blind?
about. I'm talking about the general practice when it comes to approving drugs.
No, you don't.
That's the
A double
standard. That's the
blind. A
scientific standard
double
that has to
blind.
be
Wait,
met.
wait. You're confused. A double
No.
blind only. You know what a double blind is used for? So you don't have a placebo effect. That's what a double blind is. It has nothing to
It's
do with
to
safety.
prove the
You're right. No,
safety and
it proves that you're
effectiveness of
taking
a
a drug.
drug.
Wait. Placebo means. Let me explain. I'm gonna talk to you like. Placebo means that you give one patient the real drug and you give another
I
patient
understand.
a false drug. That
Yep.
does not prove safety. It does prove that that drug is doing what it is and not the mind doing something else. You gotta, I'm just telling you,
But
I
there's
will,
certain
we can,
criteria that are
you know, Mike, I think we need to have another round of this because we're not going to settle this
no,
because
yeah. Look,
I'm just telling
I
you,
don't
it's
want
not
to
going to
take I
happen.
don't want to take the show over at all, man. I just wanted to
No,
interject
mean,
that fact in
I don't
that
know if
there.
if you ever bought a drug to market or anything, or bought a vaccine to market, but it seems as though that the information that we're getting here seems to contradict quite a bit of what's being said. Now, you've never bought a drug or a vaccine to market, so you know, I'm
The
questioning.
FDA relies on the manufacturer to prove safety standards. The FDA does not do any safety standard testing of their own. All of the safety standard testing is done in-house. That
That's
makes no
correct.
sense.
No,
That makes
that is not how it's
if
done.
you, yes, it is.
They set up the rules. Wait, you don't understand how it's done. The FDA sets up rules. They even go in and inspect on occasion. And they set up these rules of what it is. Now you're correct. The manufacturer can play games and fudge data and all that, but then that's on the manufacturer. But because the FDA and the other groups are going to look at their information to see if that information has been fudged. So I don't know. I don't. It seems like you have I don't like the way the FDA does it, but they do have rules, and I can send you those rules on how they do these things.
Do you know the majority of FDA officials and heads go to work for these vaccine manufacturers? Go to work in big pharma?
This is a rabbit hole now.
No, that's not a rabbit hole. This is fact. This is fact, man. Like straight up. It's the same thing that goes on with lobbyists. You have a lot of senators and congressmen go and once they get out, they're secured jobs in the private sector.
I can say the same thing about the defense company. I can say the same thing about accountants. I can the same thing about lawyers. But this is not the point. The point is
what I'm getting to is there's a such thing as regulatory hijacking. When you have a binding of both the industry and the regulator, if you have someone that's basically have been working at Merck for some odd years, and then next thing you know, they're in government, who's to say that they're not going to turn the blind eye if they have a study that come through and say, oh, there's a certain percentage of people that may get sick if you take this drug. This happens all the time.
I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but your whole premise. Wait, no, you can't just go this way. No, your whole premise was saying there's no safety.
There isn't.
And I'm telling you, there is not. You just came back and said, well, they can hijack it. Come on, you can't have it both ways. If there's nothing to hijack, then what are you talking about? See, you can't use the same. What you did is using your facts to disprove and to prove the two different things. You can't do that.
No.
Yes, you did. You just did that.
You're making an
I'm
argument
done.
that I'm
All
not
right,
even making,
I'm
man.
done.
Like, I'm not
Mike,
sure where you're getting that
I'll
from,
shut up.
Look, my whole thing is do your own research. I'm just putting information out there. That's it. That's it. I'll leave it where it's at. Do your own research, and I guarantee you will find out that there's no safety standards when it comes to vaccines. Now they say potency, purity, and all that, but the thing is, when it comes to actually determining whether or not long-term these vaccines have a negative health effect on human beings, there has never been any safety standard testing done on it at all.
So MOT, do you have a live stream coming up?
No, not tonight.
Okay. Let me play the let me play the clip from Kenneth Frazier again.
been given billions of dollars by the federal government. Is that an unfair advantage to somebody like you that's gotten, relatively speaking, a modest amount? Is that something you're worried about, or you don't care?
Well, I won't say I don't care. I have to manage a P&L, David. But at the same time, as I said at the outset, we want to be able to pursue this in a scientifically rigorous, orderly way. And so for us, we think if we're able to come forward with a vaccine, and we're confident that we will, we think the funding will eventually be there. So I don't think it's a disadvantage.
Okay, when you say you're confident they will come through, when is, I guess, the question you get asked all the time. When will there be a vaccine? The end of this year, early next year, middle of next year?
Well, I won't speak to other people's vaccine programs, but what I would say is that we expect to go into human testing with our vaccines, both of them by the end of the year. What I can tell you is that the fastest vaccine ever developed was our mumps vaccine, and that took 4 years. So now we know that the urgency of the situation is going to cause us to try to move quickly, but never, ever at the expense of safety.
So human trials, do you mean phase 1, phase 2, phase 3? What phase are you in now?
Well, that's part of the way that I think people are thinking about speeding up the whole vaccine development. So for us, we're thinking about going into human trials. Often you can call those phase 1/phase 2 trials if they're designed in the right way. The FDA came out recently with some very thoughtful guidance. And what they've said, among other things, is that they wouldn't even approve a vaccine for emergency use unless there was 6 months of observation of data. So that gives you a sense that the fastest it could be is, let's say, a year from now.
Yeah, 6 months of observational data.
What are they observing? Are they observing safety standards? Are they observing an immune response?
They are observing the effects of the drug on people.
Listen, okay. I'm thinking that you're new to the panel, so okay. Again, when you come here, and this is for even the people in the thing, you got to come up with you brought some facts which we're going to look at, and but you mentioned some things, and when I went to look at your things, it did not add up. And this is a CEO of a major company, a brother. I know people don't trust JAMA, which is the journal, the medical association, because they have a bad track record with Black people. But I'm trying to tell you, this is especially this one. They got all these eyes on them. Then nobody's gonna do any of those crazy things because they will come back for you. This is not a thing that, remember, this has to go to 7 billion people.
Yeah.
Cross borders.
Yeah.
You think that they're not going to come up with arrest warrants and everything for people who done anything to do with this? You're sadly mistaken. This is one of those things that I wouldn't want to be nowhere near if something goes wrong.
Yeah, let's go to this next item on the docket from Wired. Where should COVID-19 vaccines be tested? It's a moving target. Let's go straight to this paragraph here. It says phase 1, usually done in fewer than 100 volunteers. Test for the vaccines, vaccine candidate safety, and also tries to determine the right dose. Phase 2 expands the pool to several hundred people, continues to look for safety issues and side effects. It starts to examine whether the vaccine evokes an immune response. Phase 3 uses thousands of people. For the current vaccine trials, an estimated 20,000 to 30,000 who are divided between those getting the vaccine candidate and others getting a placebo to determine whether the formula actually prevents a disease.
And that's what I was talking about.
This was on the docket. This is not something I just pulled up. This is on the docket. And so phase 1, usually done in fewer than 100 volunteers, tests for vaccine candidate safety. Now, according to Dulla, this doesn't happen. All right, so we got Jay on the panel. What's going on, Jay? Mr. G.
How's it going? I have nothing to add. I just wanted to ask man tomorrow on the back chat about this electric truck company.
Yep. Mr. G, you got your hand raised.
Oh, my bad. I was on mute. How you brothers doing tonight?
Chilling, bro. Chill.
All right. That brother, what's his name? Dollar. I kind of wanted to ask him a couple of questions, you know, even though he might sort of gaslight me. I wanted to ask him, has he ever served in the military, worked in government, has a law degree, work in policy, work in government contracting? Has he ever done any of that?
Mm-hmm. I think Dole stepped away.
Oh, he stepped away. Yeah. So it's quite interesting how some people just get on the internet and they just ramble and say things, and they don't understand that there are actual rules and principles that govern a certain things, and they try to find that one example or that one nuance situation that perhaps doesn't even apply to the things they're trying to generalize it into, and try to make it like the example of how everything around us operate. There are rules and there are things that are done for things to come together. And if you've never worked in the public sector, especially in federal government, you will not understand. And I'm not saying, you know, there are not things that do happen, because we do, you know, all of these different agencies, they're governed by actual human that get appointed by political leaders and stuff like that, you know. So there are times that things can do happen, and you do have government workers that do get lazy and cut corners and things of that nature. But if you understand how government works, how anything, almost any other different agency, how they operate all the way down to the T, everything works like clockwork. Everything, there are positions for everything. People are supposed to play their roles. Everything is organized, just like the military. If you've ever been in the military, you understand exactly what I'm talking about. You understand exactly your MOS. If you're in the Army, I was in the Air Force. If you were in the Air Force, your AFSC, like you understand like your job, you know, all these jobs got codes and they classify a certain way. There are definitions for these jobs. Like, it, you know, from the military is set up just like the civil service of the federal government. The federal, the civil service, you know, the FDA, GSA, EPA, you know, you might as well call them little militaries, but just like civilian operated little militaries, and they are organized just like how you would probably see the military is organized. It's just a different culture and rules and things of that nature, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, and it's important. That's why, you know, this last article was on the docket, but you know, I wanted to make sure we covered, you know, that section, because I had read it while we were talking, and I'm like, well, wait a second here, you know, about safety. Well, this is what this says, you know. Phase one usually done in fewer than 100 volunteers. Test for vaccine candidates' safety, but and also tries to determine the right dose. Phase two expands the pool to 700 people. Continues to look for safety issues and side effects, and so maybe the idea of safety involves like a hard hat from OSHA or something like that. I don't know.
No, I think it's kind of complicated, because phase one, there's phases even in phase one that you got to go through.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And people sometimes read something and say, oh, this is the no safety. Because if you just looked at phase one, if you look at that paragraph and you look at when it got to phase three of the phase one, it says placebo, that same thing that he was describing, but it forgot to, but it's that whole thing is phase one. It's not just that one that one section. And that's what I'm trying to say. I'm not trying to beat anybody up. I'm just telling them that you got to read the whole thing. You just can't take snippets out.
Yeah, let's close it out. Yeah, thank you all for joining us. Please hit the like button if you've not already done so, and share the video if possible. Hit that notification bell so you get all the updates from the Black Brain Trust and those posted on the community tab. Shalom, everyone.